step 3, once emotions are calm. And in this step, again, like I said before, too many of us just say, stop it, stop fighting. Don't do that. It's not helpful. It gives them no information that is actually useful in the real world, which is interacting with their siblings. So we have to give them very specific tools to use instead of that. And so then I will go to them instead of saying, stop that, I will say, instead of using that voice, why don't you use the voice we practiced earlier that sounds nicer? "Oh, okay." And then they remember we did some of that role playing of using different tones. I'm going to try a different tone because I've practiced that and I know exactly what my mom is talking about.
I always want to say something. In practicing like tones or something, you'll have kids at certain ages that won't want to participate or they'll try to make a joke out of everything. We have a 14-year-old that if we sat down for our morning devotional, like, hey, everybody, let's practice tones, I guarantee he'd be like, no, no.
Oh,
No, I'm not doing a nice voice. Right. And you're like, bam, great. Right. It still works. It's still making neural connections and matters.
they're still picking up on. Okay, so another way example is that we validate the feelings. We can say it's okay to feel mad. It's not okay to hurt your sibling. It's not okay to throw things. It's not okay to this. Instead, you can do this. So we're being very specific. See how much more powerful that is than stop it. Don't do that. Stop fighting. We're validating the emotions. It's okay to feel that way, especially if someone does XYZ. It's not okay to XYZ. And instead, you can XYZ, right? You can also help them give words to their emotions. So one of the powerful things to do, and early on I used to do this and it actually kind of bothered Greg, but I realized that that was my intuition. I just had to keep following it.
Still bothers me.
Right. But it's still powerful.
It's powerful, all right.
Giving names to their emotions. Helping your children name and identify their emotions is very, very powerful. And in fact, there's a lot of research on this, especially in the stuff lab.
This is so funny because just this week I read something that said, "Don't name their emotions for them."
That guy did not know what he was.
So I get so Rachel will say, "So you're feeling angry," and what I'm suggesting. So again, it's good to have both perspectives here. What I'm suggesting is are you feeling angry? Is that what you're feeling? So
Okay.
you're trying to name the emotion to see if you can get them right instead of saying a
What do
statement.
you want?
Oh, I can tell you're frustrated. You're like, I'm not frustrated.
Okay, maybe I used to make a statement. And asking a question, yes, can definitely be a better approach. But the point, the idea is you're giving them a word so that they can name what they're feeling and begin to distinguish the difference between, say, anger and frustration or irritation and annoyance
Because
or
in an
whatever.
instance, you might go up and it looks like anger, but really what they're feeling is they feel left out.
Yeah.
That's what they're
Rejected.
feeling. They feel rejected or left out. They feel sad. And you walk, go, stop being so angry. And they're like, I'm not angry.
Right. But
I
they
have
don't
to
know
feel
what to name.
right
Right.
now.
So that's why I like to do this process that Greg thinks is funny, giving them different words and asking different questions so that they can say, yeah, actually, I am feeling that. And I've discovered incredibly, I think it's incredible to me because one, I, of course, never learned to do that as a child or, I mean, I was in my young adulthood before I started to learn that. Two, I, of course, wasn't that great at it with my older kids, but now with my younger kids, I am amazed at how well they can name the emotions they're feeling. And that they will come to me and tell me things like, I'm really feeling frustrated or irritated or annoyed or rejected or hurt or whatever by this thing that happened. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's great. So that's why it's good for us to help them in this process to name their emotions so that they begin to have this emotional awareness, the emotional maturity that makes interactions, conflict, all of those things easier and better because they have the words to describe what's going on instead of this emotional storm that just comes out physically,
And they don't know what's going on, you don't know what's
right?
going on. But as a parent mentor, if you have a certain child that is regularly feeling a certain emotion, you'll start noticing patterns. Like, okay, when she feels jealous or when she feels picked on or left out or insecure, it starts fights.
Mhm.
Oh, the great insight. So you can work on that.
Because then that also gives you a very clear picture of what the feeling is, and then of course a better approach to resolving it. Other things you can of course say is telling them what to say. I feel mad because you took my toy. Can I have it back, please? And then of course I always teach the child because for the most part this should be true. If someone asks us nicely for something, especially if it's theirs, then the natural, normal response should be to give it back. So I'm teaching both of them the appropriate responses in those situations. This is something I used to use all the time. Use your words, not your hands. Violence is the lowest form of communication. So use your words and not your hands. And then I would help them, of course, find the words that they needed to use. Just like, I'm mad because you took my toy or whatever this. Or something like, I really need space right now, right? Instead of pushing your sibling away, then use your words, not your hands. Tell your sibling, I need some space. I'm feeling crowded. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling drained. I need some space, right? And so they're communicating their needs to their siblings. And then we teach that that's what we do. We respect each other's needs. And then, of course, we can do this in the moment after we've co-regulated them, but we can also role play it during different times of the day. It doesn't have to be when there's been a fight. We can do it at a morning devotional. We can do it at an evening discussion. Like we can just work it into the day where we're like, okay, we're going to role play these different scenarios. And it can be based off real life scenarios that happen or chronic ones that will happen, and we literally just role play what we can do instead, what we can say instead, how we could change our tone, how we could do that better. And that is actually also another approach that I'll use is that if a whole scenario plays out, I co-regulate them and then I literally will sit there and be like, "Okay, what could you have said instead of that? Oh yeah, that's good. How could you have responded instead of responding that way? Okay, that's good." And you're literally giving them a different scenario for what could have happened instead.
Otherwise, they don't see any other way they could have played out.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So I think the most important thing just to remember is that we're turning these fights into now like a learning lab or an opportunity for a class. Like we're reframing it. So we don't see this as a bad thing. They're fighting, but we're like, oh, great. It's an opportunity for a class. Wonderful. It's an opportunity for me to practice self regulation and co regulation. So see them as opportunities, not as more problems, more fighting that never ends.